Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. The honorable guests, Dr. Saab, Sufi Saab, Tanveer, Haroon, they're sitting here. So Lodi Saab बैठे हैं सामने, and Abrar and some. Before I speak to you, and I was asked to speak, मैं अपने court hours में आपके पास आया with the reason that I couldn't say no. They told me very late, but I have 5 reasons to say, couldn't say no to them. First, it revolves, President बैठे मेरे हाई कोर्ट का यहाँ पे, उनको पता है कि मैं जाके अपना 2 घंटे आगे कर लूँगा, 5 बजे तक काम कर लूँगा, वो I'll handle my work, lawyers are waiting for me. First reason was, and the most important reason was, it involves the future generation of Pakistan, the women empowerment. Lawyers whom I always encourage in a court, Khawateen lawyers ki as per the constitution. Second reason was saying yes and no was that I myself has established a law school, the second law school, up third on my mother's name, Jawad Hassan Law Department at Canadian College. When I was studying in America, my mother was dying due to cancer, and I promised in America when I come back, and Canadian is 130 years old, I established a law school. First law school आपकी तरह का बना था शहीद बेनज़ीर भुट्टो यूनिवर्सिटी 2006 पेशावर में. Second university law school मैंने कनेड में बनाया, that was in 2013. Chief Justice of Pakistan, Chief Justice of Lahore High Court, they all came and they are all members of the board. Third आपका बना 2015 में, तो मैं ना नहीं कर सका, मुझे कभी पहले नहीं बुलाया था आपने, तो मैं कहा इसी बहाने I'll go and check you because I'm in the Pindi bench. Third reason for saying yes and not no to you was I checked up your law कि आपके खिलाफ कोई litigation तो नहीं होती, तो मैंने जब कानून देखा पिंडी बेंच में निकाला लॉ, फातिमा जिन्ना यूनिवर्सिटी ऑर्डिनेंस के नीचे एक भी जजमेंट नहीं है कि इस पे कोई लॉ डेवलप किया हो. दैट मीन्स वो अच्छी यूनिवर्सिटी है, कोई रिट नहीं आती. मेरे पास बड़ी आई हैं, मैं डिसमिस की है. सो यू कांट गो टू एज अ जज, आई कांट गो टू एन इंस्टीट्यूशन जिसकी लिटिगेशन होगी. मुझे भावलपुर में एक यूनिवर्सिटी बुलाया, मैम सॉरी जी आपकी लिटिगेशन होती है, मैंने नहीं आना, इनकी थी ख़त्म करके आ गया था आपकी. सो देयर इज़ नो केस लॉ अगेंस्ट यू और फॉर यू, मे बी अ गुड बोर्ड ऑफ डायरेक्टर्स और लॉयर्स यू हैव. And last reason for saying yes was that myself as a lawyer, judge, as a lawyer, मैंने हमेशा ख़वातीन को promote किया है, encourage किया है, young lawyers को. I was sitting in a DB with Justice Aisha Malik for 3 years. यहाँ रिफत बैठी हैं, हमने बड़ा काम किया women empowerment के लिए, बेशुमार judgments दिए women empowerment के लिए. The reason was that I come to you and speak. Before I start my speech on whether 50 years is good or bad and what is the future of Pakistan on the Constitution, I'll walk you to the provisions of the Constitution because I tried to develop a good case law on the Constitution as a judge, which my role is. I cannot speak more than the law or a judgment. मेरा role बड़ा मुतहद है because I'm representing an adara of Pakistan. मैं हरून साहब जितना independent नहीं हूँ, मेरे पर limitations होती हैं. जिससे सबसे पहले गाज़ा की जो बात कर रहे थे अभी डॉक्टर साहब, I want to say and share, Pakistan is one of the strongest countries in the world. Not that we are atomic bomb holder. I represent Pakistan internationally. मैं जिस मुल्क में गया हूँ, I am sitting as a judge in London as a commercial court, बरतानिया के कोर्ट्स में मैं बैठता हूँ. पाकिस्तान की वजह से हमें 10 गुना ज़्यादा इज्जत मिलती है. जस्टिस मियां गुल हसन औरंगज़ेब, हम लोग अभी अज़रबैजान गए, हमें उन्होंने अंदर से पिक किया, हमें लेके जा रहे थे. एम्बेसडर कहता है जी पाकिस्तान की यहाँ इज़्ज़त इसलिए है, पाकिस्तान ने अज़रबैजान को यूनाइटेड नेशंस का मेंबर बनाया 93 में. पाकिस्तान ने आर्मीनिया को तस्लीम नहीं किया, आर्मीनिया के साथ हिस्सा लिया हमें प्रमोट करने को. पाकिस्तान की यहाँ पे 3 मुल्कों की इज़्ज़त है, पाकिस्तान एंड टर्की. पाकिस्तान इज़ दिस. आई वाज इन चाइना, आई वाज आस्क्ड टू सिट विद द चीफ जस्टिस. मैं कहा जी मैं तो बहुत जूनियर. उन्होंने कहा नो, यू आर फ्रॉम पाकिस्तान. I went to different countries in the world and मेरे मुल्क की इज़्ज़त है. मैंने पूछा क्या इज़्ज़त है, किसी ने कहा मैं मेंबर बनाया. मैं कहा जी पाकिस्तान ने दुनिया को एक चीज़ दी थी, इस्लामिक समिट 1974. मैं 6 साल का बच्चा था, मैंने कज़ाफ़ी साहब को फूल का गुलदस्ता दिया था. वो प्यारे प्यारे बच्चे होते थे, ला के देते थे. पाकिस्तान ने दुनिया में पहली और आखिरी दफ़ा मुसलमान, सारे मुसलमान मुल्क कभी इकट्ठे नहीं हो सके, उससे पहले उसके बाद. लाहौर समिट 23 February 1974. We will make the atom bomb, we will make the Islamic Development Bank, we will make all that. That is what Pakistan did. Pakistan is always leading internationally. And last, to start my lecture was, I felt, and I had tears in my eyes when I went to International Court of Justice. इतनी बड़ी तस्वीर लगी Justice Sarfullah की, the President of the ICJ, Pakistani. Last year, Justice Masuri Shah साहब हम King's College पढ़ाने गए, enter होते हैं, सामने लगी हुई तस्वीर, again Justice Sarfullah की, 1914 graduate. Again, when you go abroad, Pakistanis are all over the world, are most known with the international izzat. And to start with Fatima Jinnah, to end, and then I start, she was the sister of the top barrister, Muhammad Ali Jinnah. She spent 4 years with Jinnah in London, in Hampstead, when Jinnah Saab was the Lincoln's Inn barrister, but then he switched on to Inner Temple. And then she was leading the person who made Pakistan, and the person who is respected all over the world. And my speech, now I start, is what is the reason for celebrating the 50 years of the Constitution. And last year, I spoke at the Supreme Court conference on 75th conference, excellent conference, where I told Pakistan achieved 75 successful years. We have to see a half glass full and a half glass empty. I will look at Pakistan Constitution in one of the best constitutions in the world. हमारे आइन से अच्छा आइन दुनिया में नहीं देखा. पहली बात, क्यों? सबसे बड़ी बात जो है, that is something which is very important, is that in our, I'll welcome Sheikh Akram, Senior Advocate, Supreme Court of Pakistan, who just came. And आपको बता दूं, Senior Advocate is a title like Queen's Counsel, King's Counsel in England, given to the top lawyer by the full bench of Supreme Court. एक बहुत बड़ा honor होता है Senior ASC. Sheikh Saab was one of the few youngest Senior Advocate. हम लोग देखते रह गए थे, 39 और 40 से पहले बन चुके थे. That's a very big thing. Sheikh Saab, जी. So to start, that Pakistan Constitution, I spoke at the LSE and all. Pakistan Constitution is one of the best constitutions made, as you see, because nothing can happen to Pakistani Constitution. That Constitution itself starts with Bismillah, and the first preamble, it has 2 preambles. I'll walk you through the Constitution. It has 2 preambles. One are the preambles, and other is now what we will do to hold and adopt the Constitution. The framer of the Constitution started the word, whereas the sovereignty of this universe belongs to Almighty Allah alone and is sacred trust to the people of Pakistan. जिस मुल्क में अल्लाह के नाम से कोई चीज़ शुरू होती हो, और जब sovereignty का मतलब होता है, I am omnipotent, there is nobody above me. And that is the word of the Constitution. And it says in one of the preamble, it says that Constitution will also give it the political justice and Islamic injunctions as per Quran and Sunnah. Preamble में सारे अल्फाजात के साथ, democracy की बात के साथ, then they say, now we therefore adopt and enact the Constitution. मैंने अपनी बेशुमार judgments में Constitution को समझने के लिए, as a judge, I can only talk about what the law is आइन को देखना हो या किसी कानून को देखना हो और समझ ना आए, उसके प्रियम्बल को देखो जो गेटवे होता है. हमारे प्रियम्बल में 18 वेराइज हैं. Why we have the Constitution of Pakistan. 50 years, a beautiful document. The Constitution has 12 parts. Constitution has various chapters. In a PTI latest judgment, 90 days to my election की judgment दी थी 10 February वाली, I explained in detail 2 chapters and 2 parts of the Constitution can be read how. Who has to give a date of the election? There I developed a new concept of penumbra. How do you read a Constitution? Constitution itself is a document is a sacred document, and the issue of preamble, जहाँ था किसने डेट देनी है, वो साइलेंस था. Part 8, Chapter 2, Article 2 to 4 does not say who has to give the date. If the governor itself dissolves, he has to give a date. But if the assembly is dissolved, then I hold and said that under the doctrine of penumbra is a light around the sun. something which you do take for your express thing, an implied power. And that was the judgment of PLD 2022, Lahore. That's a PTI case where I gave the judge ki 90 days election honge, page 179. The doctrine of penumbra says, under this doctrine, specific provision of a constitution or a statute has to be read not in isolation, but it must consider the context of relevant and connecting provision of the constitution, statute, or underlying features. Most importantly, the basic purpose of a judge to examine the constitution is doctrine of textualism. Constitution has to be seen as in a text form, the basic interpretation. Lord Sumption, the UK Supreme Court judge, said, judges are merely meant to interpret law, but surprisingly they are making it. Our purpose as a judge under the Constitution is to interpret, to fill in the gap, to explain some articles, some sub-articles, the commas in the articles, the provisos in the articles, the ambiguity between the articles. That is the basic purpose of a judge to look. So first, and the most importantly, when the preamble starts, then the most important part, which you all will want to enjoy, is Constitution. It says, what are the best provision in the Constitution is. In my various speeches, I always say, you talk about fundamental rights, but I think this is something bigger than the fundamental rights in the Constitution. Anybody can answer that. You all know fundamental rights are under Chapter 2, Part 1, but what else is the most powerful article of the Constitution? It is so powerful that one has to read it again and again. In my various judgments, I've explained those again and again, because when you look at the Constitution carefully as a judge, you have to first look at the anatomy of the Constitution, how it's spread out, chapters and parts. Secondly, you have to examine the pathology of the articles of the Constitution. Thirdly, you have to examine the legal anthropology of the Constitution, 56 Constitution, 62 Constitution, no rights given, 66 Amendment, and then the legal anthropology of the Constitution says this Constitution has 26 amendments made by the Parliament. The amendment in the Constitution is made under Chapter 12, Article 239, 238 by two-thirds majority. No one can change the Constitution. जब झगड़ा पड़ा हुआ है मुल्कों में, इजराइल की बात करें, इजराइल के कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में केस चल रहा है कि जो पार्लियामेंट ने कहा विल टेक द पावर्स फ्रॉम यू. Poland government tried to take away the powers of the Supreme Court. The most important thing is the Constitution two-thirds majority can only be done by the two-thirds majority under Article 238, 239, and 239(5) says no court can interfere. But in that case, I had a case which came to me in last year, 2022 MLD Hafizur Rahman case was where somebody brought a case कि जी आप presidential government के लेके आए. मैं कह रही, do you think court can change the Constitution? Under Article 239(5), I am not even allowed to look at the amendments in the Constitution. Then there I wrote what the leading jurists of the world said in the India Nana Bharti case, that creature of the Constitution, master of the Constitution, creature of the Constitution can't be its master. You cannot create, the creature can be master, you can't become a master of the Constitution. That's a basic thing. Then, which are the, अब बताएं कौन से हो सकते हैं? Fundamental rights तो है ना, Article 8 से 28 तक, public policies भी हैं, कौन से हो सकते हैं article? Most powerful article. दो हैं, सिर्फ दो. पूरा Constitution उस पे खड़ा है. What? No. किसने कहा है? जी. Most powerful article of the Constitution is intertwined, in one of the judgment I have mentioned, they are intertwined with 5. 4 says to enjoy the protection of law. It's an inalienable right. Inalienable means not, it's your birthright. Can't be taken away from you. That's my right. Inalienable right of every citizen to be treated as per law. Law means Article 175, Article 70 of the Constitution, Article 89 of the Constitution, and no action determinant to the life, property, reputation, body, liberty can be taken. Article 4, but it's below, it's above Article 5. When you come to me and say, I need the right, I said, no, you have to first read Article 5. Article 5 says, obedience to the Constitution and loyalty to the state. If you're loyal to the state and you obedience to the Constitution, there the word 4 says inalienable right. Article 5 is very, very more powerful than 4. It says inviolable obligation, not a duty. It's inviolable obligation of every citizen to obey the Constitution and the law. Inviolable means not to be broken. So 4 article, 5 article are intertwined. Intertwined are like this. You come to me for rights, you respect the court. You come to me for rights, you respect the Constitution. You come to me for rights, you respect the judgments of the Pakistani courts. Article 189 is a third powerful provision of the Constitution. There are 2 kinds of laws. Law students को बता देता हूँ, 2 किस्म के कानून होते हैं. One side, Article 70, Parliament will make law, federal or provincial. Under Article 90 is a federal government, and Article 127 is a provincial government. Federal government function under Article 99 and the rules of business 73. Provincial government function under Article 137 and the rules of business, and they make laws. And they are ordinance under Article 89 for 4 months. So that is one law. But the bigger and heavier law is Article 189, the judgment of the Supreme Court of Pakistan. If the Supreme Court decides a question of law, enunciates the principles of law, elaborate the provisions of law, comma, it shall be binding on the courts below. Koi puchta ki ji how powerful your judgments are. I said they have a sovereign command under the Constitution of a precedent binding. Second, and the most important, is Article 201 of the Constitution. That if a High Court is subject to 189, decides the question of law, binding in the courts below. The 2 provisions are linked together to see violation of Article 5, because Article 5 and Article 4 have to be read like this together. Then we move to the fundamental rights. And fundamental rights are all, as you know, right to life, right to citizen. But how have they come? Can anybody answer me how we got the fundamental rights in the Constitution? We know that they were not given in the 1962 Constitution. How did we get the constitutional fundamental rights in the Constitution of Pakistan? We have all the rights, right to life, right to religion, movement, speech, property, right to association, rights to everything, assembly, right to double jeopardy. But those rights are given to us. How have they come to you? Law students, Constitution students, कहाँ से rights आए आपको? I was in the country still is written sometime in some buildings, blacks and dogs are not allowed. Gandhi was traveling, he said you are black, you're traveling first class, and so I'm a barrister, I called the bar. No, you are black. You have no rights. But how in that country, under legal anthropology, how did we get the rights? दुनिया ने मान ली ना बात finally. Rights कहाँ से हमें मिले आइन में? कोई कहता है यूनाइटेड नेशन डिक्लेरेशन ह्यूमन राइट्स 1948 10 दिसंबर partly correct. कोई कहता है इंटरनेशनल कॉवेनेंट ऑफ सिविल एंड पॉलिटिकल राइट्स 1966 partly correct. कोई कहता है 1966 कन्वेंशन ऑफ सिविल सोशल एंड इकोनॉमिक राइट्स partly correct. No. Yes. Hillary Clinton, the Secretary of State, 1998, I was in the US, and in the United Nations Conference of 1948 was in 1998, they acknowledged that Magna Carta 1275, Petition of Rights 1175, American Constitution 1777. But what my Nabi, first time, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, said one thing only. Born in 570 AD, migrated to 610 AD, made a charter of Medina 622 AD with 8 kumbas, gave more duties and less rights. And duties are the charter of Medina by Holy Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. But what is the most emotional thing for us is when he gave the last sermon. If you read the last sermon's translation, the entire United Nations Declaration of Human Rights 1948, translated into Economic and Social Rights Covenant in 1966, the world's charters in 1948, our Constitution 73, right from 9 to 5 was that he said to everybody, I am not going to be with you tomorrow. Listen to me, I will not be with you tomorrow, but tell the world what I'm telling you now. Again, tell the world that what I'm telling you now. Just few hours before Halufa Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was not with us. Was the true last sermon of Prophet. When I go to Article 9 to Article 18, all the fundamental rights given to us, we are lucky because they are given and enshrined in the Constitution, protected by the Supreme Court and High Courts of Pakistan in various judgments, landmark given to. Then comes the amendment to the constitutions. We have 26th Amendment, but we had the 18th Amendment, taking some powers from the Constitution to the provincial government, which I explained one of PLD 2021, Lahore 22156, how provincial governments have been now become autonomous, because Constitution deal with federalist and there was a concurrent list now. Most important provisions of the Constitution to examine would be dealing with some judgments, how courts have looked into. Courts have looked into the Constitution as a document, sacred document, in various judgments, which I don't have time, which I'll give you. Dr. Saab, I'll give it to you. I've brought some judgments of my judgments, other judgments. But what I want to achieve and tell you, as a judge, our role is only to interpret the Constitution. I did in 6 ways different than others. As a law student, मैं आपको समझाता हूँ चीज़. पहले रिट की 5 किस्में होती थी. Article 199. एक कहती है 199, subject to Constitution, comma, when there is no effective remedy available, comma, any party may make an application. Party underline. Can a child come to the court? The question is, fundamental rights are for person, defined under Article 260. Some Article 4 says citizen. Article 10A, right to a fair trial and due process, says individual. And there are 3 words in the Constitution. Somewhere they say person, sometimes they say individual, sometimes they say citizen. But Article 199 enlarges the scope. It says any party to the proceeding. That is different than, it covers all these 3. Can bring a court, a case, appella. 1, writ of certiorari, to declare any act done, proceeding taken by any authority, function of the state. 199, 1, 2, to direct a person to do what is required by law to do. What is a person? Person is defined under Article 199(5, जो मैंने FC को जजमेंट एक्सप्लेन किया था, when I was arguing a case against Anusha Shikhan Lams वाला, where Justice Sakim साहब ने बना दिया कि हमने कहा कि हम पे एचएन कॉलेज लागू नहीं होता. No writ is maintainable against the educational institution. मैंने SC कॉलेज की जजमेंट PLD 2018 लाहौर 435 में उसको elaborate किया. There will be 5 tests: functional test, administrative test, and the test of that whether is the rules of business में आती है नहीं आती है. That was that what a person. So पहली writ होती है certiorari, दूसरी mandamus, तीसरी होती है writ of prohibition. फिर आती है B1, which is quo warranto, and B2 is habeas corpus. छठी रिट मैंने बनाई हमजा शहबाज शरीफ के केस में, वो है 199(1)(c). That High Court can, for enforcement of fundamental rights, can enforce its earlier order. Case came to me last year. 2 orders was passed by the court, was not implemented. I have to invoke, there was no contempt proceeding. I had to invoke Article 199(c), based on 1960 Lahore, page 280, where we invoked 199(c), and that judgment is Hamza Shahbaz Sharif versus British Pakistan, PLD 2021 Lahore 506. अब आ गई छठी किस्म की कि आप 199(6) में भी आ सकते हो. कंटेम्प्ट में ना जाओ, अर्लियर ऑर्डर के लिए 10 साल बाद भी आप हाई कोर्ट में आकर होगी इंप्लीमेंट करें इसको. It involves my fundamental rights. So that was the scope of the writ petition before the court. And women reason for last season was Fatima Jinnah University's role and the law school's role is part with the Constitution. Constitution itself clearly provides a protection to mother, child, and family under Article 35 of the Constitution. It says state shall protect family, mother and child. Article 34, state shall make sure the women are hired, engaged in government. And Article 27 also clearly gives them a right for not to be discrimination in service matters. This is now a time that if you look at the Pakistani judgments now, the entire period course of Pakistan, Supreme Court of Pakistan till now, the judgments are all strengthening the woman empowerment. And that is the reason for telling you as a judge to explain that to you. The Constitution, 50 years, to me, looks healthy. Constitution, to me, which has, mashallah, the Constitution of Pakistan has total 101,376 words. The Constitution preamble has 431 words. The Constitution, which has only 280 articles. The Constitution, which was born 50 years ago. The Constitution, which has 14 chapters, looks to me a good, jurisprudentially strong Constitution backed by the Supreme Court and High Court judgments. All judgments pro-Constitution, strengthening Constitution, as you say, the concept under the legal theory, the concept is called constitutionalism. The word constitutionalism means there's a legal theory that you have to examine the principles of the Constitution. Under the constitutionalism, as a legal theorist, my heuristic approach is to say Pakistan Constitution has more than 4,700 judgments to protect it. Pakistan judiciary played a very good role in strengthening the Constitution and the supremacy of the Constitution and the sovereignty of the Constitution. Sheikh Saab was a counsel in lots of cases for the full bench. वो तो 40 साल की उम्र में full bench का केस आर्ग्यू करते थे. उनको पता है कितना Supreme Court throughout अभी तक हमारा Supreme Court we stood with the Constitution. What the conference says that can you see something 50 years? I might not be here, but I'll say I don't think so. This Constitution will ever change. We don't need any other document because every provision, if you read it carefully again and again, can answer you again and again and again and again. गेटवे जाओ, मैंने जजमेंट दे रहा हूँ जो मैंने एक्सप्लेन किया है कि हमने आइन में जब नई कुछ चीज़ समझ आती है तो फिर हम देखते हैं प्रियम्बल को, नई कुछ चीज़ समझ आती है हम देखते हैं दूसरे आर्टिकल्स को, नई चीज़ समझ आती है हम देखते हैं चैप्टर्स को. ये किसी ने जवाब नहीं दिया. मैंने पीटीआई के केस में जवाब दिया कि जहाँ पे झगड़ा पड़ गया था इलेक्शन कमीशन का चैप्टर 4 और वो चैप्टर 8 और गवर्नर का चैप्टर 4, तो दो जब चैप्टर आते हैं और दो पार्ट्स आते हैं तो क्या उनको आप पढ़ सकते हो अलग अलग? दे आर बिकॉज द एनाटॉमी ऑफ देम इज डिफरेंट, द पैथोलॉजी ऑफ देम इज सेम, बट द एथियोलॉजी, जूरिस्प्रूडेंशियल एथियोलॉजी, एनाटॉमी होता है ढांचा कैसे पड़ा हुआ है, पैथोलॉजी होता है अंदर क्या है खून का, मैं मेडिकल वर्ड यूज कर रहा हूँ, एथियोलॉजी होता है उसके मतलब कहा क्या गया है, एंथ्रोपोलॉजी होता है उसकी बैकग्राउंड में क्या था, और सबसे जो वर्ड है एंथोलॉजी, उसकी कलेक्शन क्या होती है. उस सारे साइंटिफिक वर्ड से जब मैं देखा तो मुझे समझ आ गया दोनों की एक ही मकसद था. पार्ट 4 एंड पार्ट 8 का दोनों की डायरेक्शन एक थी, आंसर पार्ट 8 में नहीं था. देयर यू इन्वेंट डॉक्ट्राइन्स एंड डॉक्ट्राइन्स आर used by other countries also. And then they're brought into Pakistani system. And a judgment is that judgment which is followed with a doctrine. ये doctrine कहाँ से शुरू होती? अमेरिका कहता है मैं टेक्स्ट में चलूँगा, ब्रिटानिया कहता है मैं सेट प्रिंसिपल में चलूँगा. ये उनका कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन नहीं है, अमेरिका कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन है. अमेरिका में एंटोनियो स्कालिया जज था, दे वर वेरी मच ओरिजिनलिस्ट जजेस थे. ओरिजिनल देखते हैं, एक टेक्स्ट को देखेंगे उसी के टेक्स्ट का मतलब देंगे, उससे आगे कुछ चीज़ इंपोर्ट नहीं करेंगे. डॉक्ट्रिन ऑफ टेक्सटलिज्म, अभी मैंने सुपर टेक्स्ट की जर्मन में उसको टेक्सटलिज्म को अडॉप्ट किया है कि जी उसका मकसद क्या होता है. मकसद होता है आप सिर्फ टेक्स्ट को पढ़ो, उसका जवाब दे दो. डोंट इंपोर्ट एनी प्रिंसिपल इन अ टेक्स्ट. What that is a sanctity of the Constitution. And I conclude, I'm sorry I took 5 more minutes, because I had to explain Gaza first. Thank you.